Hey there, my 5 faithful listeners, and anyone who randomly stumbled upon this episode. My name is Lydia, and this is the Lydia Hill Pod. It all started from a wild idea and has turned into something I genuinely love. From deep dives into questions most people are too scared to research, to travel stories, faith talks, an occasional guest who has no idea what they're getting into, and everything in between. Expect to learn a lot, laugh a lot, and to leave with something worth talking about. Grab a glass of chocolate milk, settle in, and let's dive into the episode. It's time for another music episode. You guys know I love singing, I love listening to music, I play some instruments, and I do write songs, although none of them are published, and I don't know if we'll ever make it to an actual album. Yet, I wanted to talk about something that I have been pondering for quite some time. I want to talk about Taylor Swift, which I know, cliche, everyone talks about her. I don't know her personally, although we lived in the same state for a very long time, and I lived in the same general area as her for a little bit, so I guess we have that in common. But I'm not here to debate whether her music is good, whether she's a good influence to people who have certain values. I'm not going to talk about her relationships or the Eras tour, even though I did get to go to that. What I want to do is look at her career like a case study, because whatever you think of her personally or even musically, you have to recognize that she is one of the most successful people in this day and age. She has built something genuinely extraordinary. A whole fan base, people who love her, and she has so many albums under her belt. I think it's worth considering. How did she get there? How did she do it? So this is a somewhat serious, somewhat fun breakdown of what it would actually take to be Taylor Swift. And fair warning, some of this is going to be completely obvious, but sometimes the obvious things are the things that people skip. So step 1 would be to start young, be bold, work hard, get a record deal. Get a record deal would not apply if you're not in the music category, but we're going off of what she pursued. Taylor Swift moved to Nashville at age 13, I believe, to pursue her music career. Her family relocated, not just, hey, we're going to a summer camp or something. They actually moved, uprooted their whole family. And that tells you about the level of commitment that she had at such a young age. We're talking about before she was even in high school. She moved to Nashville and she was bold about it. She walked into record labels, asked for meetings, she got rejected, she kept going. She wrote songs and sang and performed at just anywhere who would let her. She was, I think, performing at a festival or some kind of scouting event, or it could have been just a hometown performance. I'm not really sure, but she was noticed by the record that she eventually signed with because she was just out there doing her thing. She got a development deal at 14 with RCA, but she left it because she didn't think that they were going to let her make her own music. So then she signed with Big Machine Records at 15. 15, guys, where she negotiated the rights to write her own songs. 15. This is not a lesson to uproot your life and move to Nashville at 13. Most of us, if you're listening to this podcast, you're probably older than 13, so you're past that window. The lesson is that people who make it in life at this level, they don't wait to be discovered. They don't spend 20 years in prep mode. They just start doing it. They just give their whole life to it. And eventually the success and the growth comes. So you would put yourself in the room, you would take the meetings, you would make asks, you would say no to things that make you settle, and you would keep pushing for what you want. Boldness is not something that Taylor Swift was probably born with. She had to choose to do that. It takes courage, but she chose, I'm going to pursue music, and at all costs, I want to be able to write my own music and perform it and do what I love. Hard work is probably too obvious to mention, but obviously she worked really hard. She was writing songs at like 10, I think in 3rd or 4th grade, or maybe even younger. She won a poetry competition. She's been writing since probably she could hold a pen. She was performing anytime she could get on a stage. when most people were in middle school, she was learning business techniques for her music career. By the time she got her first record deal, she was already prepared to take the job. She had put in the amount of work that most artists might not even put in until they're in their mid-20s. And that hard work paid off for her. The second thing that I've noticed from examining her life is that she practices a lot. If you've seen any videos from her Eras tour, she is all the time making sure that she gets every scene, every video, every note, every dress, outfit, everything she wants to be up to her high standard. So she's not going to settle. She practices all the time. And she also plays multiple instruments. She plays ukulele, banjo, guitar, and piano. And she might play other instruments. I'm not really sure if she's added anything else to her repertoire. She doesn't just add that to her resume. She had to put in a lot of practice to be able to play those instruments. I can play the saxophone, alto, tenor, soprano, and then some piano. And I can tell you from experience, you don't just pick up an instrument and then can easily play it. It takes a lot of time and practice to be able to be really good at the instrument. And plus, your vocal cords are an instrument within themselves. So she's not just casually singing every day when she gets on stage. She has put in hours and hours of practice to refine her tone and her voice. Singing is an instrument and it's a gift, and it's something that, yes, anyone can just sing. But if you're going to sing consistently and at the level that she does, and using her vocal cords the amount of time she does, she was singing for hours and hours on her tour, back to back. And that can damage your vocal cords if you don't put in the time and practice. So she definitely has skill within all of those instruments. She likely didn't add those instruments to her resume just because. I'm sure that part of the reason was to give herself a new creative outlet. It would give her more ways to write songs, and that is really one of the points of learning multiple instruments. It's not about the instruments themselves, but about the new expressions that you have musically to be able to tell a story. When you only write music on one instrument, all of it can sound the same after a while. A chord progression might feel natural on a guitar, but when you try something else on a ukulele, for instance, it might open a whole new world. Different instruments will probably pull different songs out of an artist. There's also something that can just be said about what message might be sent to collaborators and to record deals for the fact that she can walk in a room and pick up most instruments in there and play it. That's different than needing someone to back you up all the time. Like if you can be the whole one-man show, that she doesn't have backup drummers and other things, but she could just pick up a guitar and be the whole performance. With the vast amount of instruments she can play and all of the practice that she's put in to make that happen, Taylor Swift has been described by most people who work with her that she is relentlessly prepared for everything. She knows all of her songs. She knows her catalog. She performs at a whole different level, and she relies on her own preparation when she walks onto a stage. She knows that she's going to do well because she is prepared to do well. That's not just natural talent. That's lots of hard work. The next thing that is something that I think affects most of her writing career is that she writes her own vulnerable music. This is something that probably a lot of people in the music industry get wrong. Taylor Swift writes her own songs. When she's singing something, it is something she has personally felt or thought about or experienced. And she's been doing that since the very beginning. She not only writes her own songs, but she writes in an autobiographical and memorable way that's so vulnerable. It makes a lot of other artists avoid that style because it's uncomfortable. No one wants to say, this is what I have wrong with myself. And even though I get this right and this right, I mess this thing up every time. She names her feelings. She describes specific moments that have happened. She writes about embarrassing things like being left, being publicly humiliated, being afraid, being wrong. And when she does that, her listeners feel like She is talking directly to them because they have felt those things. They can completely relate and they see that story playing out in their own lives. It's something that they have felt, but maybe not something that they've said out loud. But when she says it, it makes them feel like, oh, I'm not alone. That is the whole method. Vulnerability in songwriting is not about just trying to get people to listen to your music. It's being specific and honest with other people. And that is something that builds relationship no matter if it's through music or not. People will recognize themselves in what you produce if what you produce is real. Generic love songs can be nice, but they smooth out all of the specific details that might be gut-wrenching, that might be embarrassing, that might be hard to admit, or even something that's traumatic. Taylor Swift puts in those embarrassing, dramatic, or too real details. And that's why songs like All Too Well hits way harder than most other songs. It's too specific to be cliche. It's something that you're screaming in your car because I have felt this feeling, and this puts it into words in a way that I don't always want to admit or say. Songwriters who avoid talking about these things are leaving out all of the best parts of their writing. I honestly think that the best songs are the ones who relate to the human experience. The next thing that Taylor Swift does is something that is slightly controversial, which is being multi-genre. She started in country, she moved to pop, she went to alternative and had some indie folk, and she didn't stop there. She incorporated synth pop, rock, acoustic storytelling, and she's done all of that throughout her career. She didn't just stop and say, this is who I'm known to be, so therefore I cannot produce something that is true to myself, but not expected. She didn't feel intimidated by that. Every time she transitioned, she got critiqued. I'll be honest, there are my least favorite parts of her transitions. Near and dear to my heart is Speak Now, and I really did enjoy her country or country pop era. And when she left it, I felt heartbroken because I grew up in the South, and that's where I met her. I met her on the country radio. Her song, Our Song, was the first song that I learned all the lyrics to on the pop radio. Every song before that was probably a children's song or some kind of church song. So we've all had our fair share of judgment on her transitions. But the point is that she didn't make those transitions to appease someone. She did it because that's what she felt, and that's how she expressed herself through her music, and her music didn't have to stay in some kind of mold. The artists who last are typically not the ones who just repeat, paste, and copy their entire career. Even in the business world, companies who, for instance, stay making some kind of product, but then they don't advance when there's new AI and new possibilities, new technologies, they don't make it far in the future. They just stop. But when artists and other people advance and they try new things or they combine new techniques, or we all know Beyonce tried out country and that put her back on the charts. Did everyone like it? Did everyone complain or have insults? A lot of people did, but it worked for her career. Music interests are going to evolve. Life is going to change. You shouldn't be writing about and feeling the same things at 18 as you would at 30. So your career and your music or whatever it's in, it should evolve as you change in life. You're not going to be the same person your whole life. And the expression or the pursuits that you have should be relevant in each stage of life. The next thing I'm going to say about her might seem to contradict what I just said, but she stays in her lane. Now, Lydia, you just said that she changes genres and tries new things. Yes, that's true. But what I mean by stay in her lane is she's not trying to become an astronaut or become the next president of the United States. She's not switching lanes. She knows what she is doing and she knows her goals and she set out to do that and that alone. Some people try so many different things and they're pulled so many different directions that they may do well in some areas, but they're not going to become the artist of the year multiple years in a row, are the top artists on Spotify every year, or things like that, if they are only giving part of their time and attention to that pursuit. She is who she is because she does it wholeheartedly, and she's not really concerned about doing anything else. She doesn't really chase trends, or she doesn't get involved politically in something because it is a cultural thing. I've seen her fans get mad at her for not saying things at certain moments, but she just stays silent and only talks about the things she cares about. Now, does she sometimes express things that have a political slant or something in her own music? Yes, but that's because she cares about it, and it's part of what she's already pursuing. It's not giving in to what other people want. Taylor Swift has always sounded like Taylor Swift. Even when she switches genres, she knows her sound and who she is. And even if she's writing a folklore song versus a red song, she has who she is down, and she's able to replicate that in anything she does. The next thing that she does, which I actually highly respect, is that she does not typically bash other artists. In general, I'm not saying she's never ever done that. Maybe she has. I'm sure you guys could pull up some kind of video or something, but her general reputation is not of talking down other artists or comparing herself or trying to top someone else. She is her own competition. She wants to do better than she has done before. When you bash other people, it does not help you. It makes you look insecure. It puts your name in proximity to upcoming drama. It makes you look just like a mean person, because that is mean. And in an industry that is quite smaller than it looks, music, it would actually hurt you down the line because you're probably going to burn bridges that you're going to need to cross later. She has had very public conflicts before, a lot of them caused by other people or personal experiences she's had that have become public. And the ones that did hurt her reputation were the ones where she looked like she was the one throwing punches. But the ones that she weathered, the ones that her fans stood by her and she was respected and promoted throughout the event and seemed to be coming out on the right side in the end, were the ones where she just stayed silent and did her own thing. Another person's success does not take away the success of your own. Treating your career or whatever you're doing as a competition with other people is only going to lead you to heartbreak. It's a bad strategy. It's bad math. It won't add up to being the best of the best in whatever you're doing. Just make it your thing that you're pursuing and try to be your best. That's all you can do. And if that's not good enough for you, you're never going to be satisfied. On top of that, she also continually produces when things get hard. When Taylor Swift has definitely been publicly canceled multiple times. She disappeared from social media for about a year, that Kanye Kim situation happening, and she just avoided what was happening. She didn't try to fight back. A lot of articles were written about her trying to get her dismissed and forgotten. Then she released Reputation, then Lover, then Folklore, and Evermore back to back during a pandemic. Then Midnights, then she did the Eras tour, and that became one of the highest grossing concert tours in all of human history. The thing about having a long career is that you're going to have to survive some ups and downs. And the way that you survive the down periods is by continuing to do what you're doing, continuing to produce. You don't need to force that, but if your work or what you're pursuing is actually worth pursuing, if it's your goal and it's your anchor, then when things get hard, that is going to help you get through those hard times, not make you want to avoid what you're pursuing. What other people say and what other people do is always out of your control. But what you do control is what you do in response. So if you're affected by other people's actions, it's not because they made you quit. You decide ultimately, are you going to quit or will you keep going? This is true definitely outside of music as well, in all the creative fields and even in just life in general. The people who succeed are the people who continue, the ones who have long careers don't give up when they have a rough spot. There are people like Elton John and Dave Ramsey, Walt Disney, all of them bankrupt early on in their career. Walt Disney, I think it was like 6 times. So these people had rough starts. Some of them were told, don't ever do this. You'll never make it. We know the story. It's the cliche in every movie, but it's true. These people had to continue and they had to choose, I'm pursuing this path no matter the cost. That's what Christians do as well. Like, you're not a Christian because it's easy. You choose to follow Christ because you know that it's worth what is in the end and what it means for you now. Her choice to continue to produce throughout all the things, whether it was her fault or not, is, I think, one of the main reasons that she is who she is today. So there it is. That is a summary of how to be the next Taylor Swift. If you want to be, I don't think that you should be the next Taylor Swift, though. I think you should be you. At the end of the day, she is who she is because she was herself, and she pursued what she thought was worthy of pursuing at all costs. If you want to be someone, then be yourself. That's the only person you can be. And God definitely made you the way you are, who you are, with the unique position in life you have for some reason. So figure that out, and then you can become you. Maybe a video like this will be made about you in a few years. How to become whatever your name is. If you want to follow some of the things that she did, then you should start early. You should be bold. And if you didn't start early, be bold anyways. Work harder than you think you need to. Work and give your all to it. Learn multiple instruments or learn multiple skill sets in whatever you're doing. Practice all the time until it's second nature, and then practice some more. Write or produce or do what you're doing vulnerably in a way that other people know you're being real and they can relate to. Don't stay in the safe zone. Do what is actually real, and cross genres or explore what you want to pursue without holding back just because that's not the stereotype. Stay true to your own voice and your own pursuit in the process. Don't forget why you're doing what you're doing. Don't spend any of your energy and don't waste any of your time tearing other people down or fighting and competing against others. And ultimately, when things get hard, and they will get hard, keep going. Remember what you're doing and why you're doing it. None of this is actually a secret. Taylor Swift hasn't done something unique or unrepeatable. Lots of people across time have done what she has done, and it's not impossible for you to be at the level she is at whatever you're pursuing. She's done very obvious things consistently at a high level for a very long time. Well, that's the end of this glass of chocolate milk, which means it's the end of the episode. I hope you've had fun listening to me ramble about random things I've noticed in the life of Taylor Swift. That's a wrap on this episode of the Lydia Hill Pod. And honestly, the fact that you're still here challenges my belief that I only have 5 consistent listeners. If something we talked about today stuck with you, or you have thoughts, topics, or questions you want me to dig into, send me a message on any of my socials. And if you know someone who likes a good laugh, is trying to find their way, or just really needs to know this, send it their way. As always, love God, love people, love travel, love life. Thanks for spending time with me. See you in the next one.